some of the throws he made are just they're bad. They were just bad throws that you shouldn't see from a number 1 overall pick. It's especially when I see him on the move, when I see him get out of the pocket and try to make a throw on the run, his accuracy is so far, it's awful.
When I come to your city, I'm a new score. Broke your high score soon as I step through the door. Try to stack my paper up like a bookstore. Money kissing each other like a rock and roll tour. When I come to your city, I'm a new score. Broke your high score soon as I step through the door. Try to stack my paper up like a bookstore. Money kissing each other like a rock and roll tour.
Hey, Tyler. So, Piet.
What's going on? Welcome to the New Score podcast. My name is Pat. This is my co-host, TYG, Tyler Pratt. Tyler, how we be doing?
We be doing them. Honestly, great. I think any day we wake up and we're breathing, right? Praise, guys. A great day, right? Roof above our heads. We got a bed to sleep in. We got clothes on our back. It's a great day. But then we get to watch football 4 days a week, maybe 3 coming up. I don't know how many Fridays we're going to have. But for week 1, 4 days? Come on. How can I complain? So I'm doing great, Pat.
You're preaching right now. I love it. I love the vibes going into week 2. Obviously, we got a lot to talk about from week 1. Unfortunately, Tyler won't be joining me for the entirety of the episode going through all these games. But we got a couple segments to start off with. If you're on YouTube right now, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow us on Apple Podcasts. And follow us on Spotify. Get us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Appreciate your support.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't yet, just released our first rant of this season. It was something that had been cooking up in my brain these last 36 hours or so. So it was good to get that off my chest. If you haven't yet, go back and check that out. I think it's only like 15 minutes or something. So nothing too crazy. I didn't put too much into it, but
that's one trip to the toilet.
Right. It was quality nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
But Tyler, a couple segments that we're going to go through as the NFL season goes on is our dime of the week. So that is the best throw that we saw from the past weekend. So we got one of those to nominate today. And then also Gwame Changing play of the week as well. Momentum, it certainly does exist in this sport. Things can change just like that, just like that. So today we're going to give our Gwame Changing play nominee of week 1. Tyler, let's start out with the dime of the week. I don't know if there's a week this season where we're going to see a more obvious candidate, because most of the time there'll be like a few really nice throws that guys make and it'll be like, oh, that was a great throw. Did you see that one? Yeah, I saw that one. Did you see that one? Yeah, I saw that one. Did you see that one? Like usually as the week goes on, it'll be like that, talking about throws, especially guys like you and myself who just admire some arm talent and nothing like a good dime that you see out there. From week 1, man, we're talking about not just a dime, but an absolute heat-seeking missile from AR, formerly known as AR-15, Anthony Richardson, quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. God damn. stumbles.
Find that.
He's in the gun, gets the snap. He falls. He loses his footing. He's going to his left. He's a right-handed quarterback. He's going to his left. The pressure starts getting on him. He doesn't have time to even set his feet. All of his pressure on his back foot, all of his weight's on his back foot. He can't even step in to throw, and zoop, dart to Alec Pierce on a post. Got it to the end zone. Absolute dime, Tyler. I don't know if you can even argue this week's. That might be top 5 throw I've ever seen from
Doesn't
a
get much
quarterback.
better than that.
Like, that is just sheer the strength to be able to do that, man. Just to cork it without, like I said, without even having your feet set. Like, whew.
And
There's only a couple of human beings, man.
Right, and then that's why you can see why he was, drafted as high as he was for somebody having very little experience at the quarterback position. Like, that kid is just that talented. You're gonna miss some throws here and there, but he just dropped some absolute dimes, and that wasn't the only one. He had a couple more, but that one was just spectacular. So, yeah, Anthony Richardson's a dog.
So, Anthony Richardson, congratulations. You are New Scores Week 1 Dime of the Week. Let's give it up. Let's give it up for him, Tyler. I do want to point out in that game, though, CJ Stroud made a couple dime throws as well. That throw, man, with 2 minutes left in the game, 2 minutes left, Houston was up 2, 3rd and 11, backed up in his own territory. Game on the line. Place is going nuts. Indianapolis is rocking. They call it the Loud House. Well, that place was loud. 3rd and 11. Game on the line. And this dude throws a seed on the sideline. Coverage was perfect. To your boy, Nico Collins. The ball couldn't have been in a better spot on that sideline, man. It was just an absolute seed to get there. And there's not a better spot you could put it. It was a great catch as well, obviously, by Nico to get to the marker so that if he was going to catch it, he would have the first down. Great job by him, making that catch. But the throw, man, that's the stuff that really gets you going if you like football, man.
Is there a better Ohio State Michigan connection than that in the league right now? No, trick question, because Ohio State only has one good quarterback in the league right now. No offense, Justin Fields. And Michigan doesn't really have any other good receivers in the league other than Nico Collins. So that was a trick question for anybody who was actually thinking about it. But yeah, he's just still getting it done. CJ.
In the league now. Brady was carrying their water for a pretty long time. Being that one guy. Chad Henney's gone.
That's it. Well, actually, kind of. They got Milton. He was there. Joe Milton.
Yeah, he doesn't count. That's like me taking credit for Burrow. If you're not going to give me credit for Joe Burrow, you don't get credit for Milton.
Yeah, but Milton actually played like a full season at quarterback for them. But either way.
You get J.J. McCarthy for the next 15 years. Hopefully. I get C.J. Stroud, and we duel. And you're fucking screwed, buddy. We're getting a little off track. Let's get back to it. Let's get to our next segment here. Gwame Changing play of the week. Just like the dime, this is a no-brainer. Tyler and I talked about this play. Just no-brainer. No debate. And ETN goes in to score a touchdown. What looked like to be a walk-in touchdown from what we saw.
Mm-hmm. And
Javon Holland strips it, gets the ball out. Miami recovers. And I want to say 2 plays after that was when they had the deep ball to Tyreek Hill. And then you just knew it was over for the Jags in that moment. That fumble, man, that would have put them – they would have been at 24. They ended up not even scoring a point in the second half, by the way. But that fumble completely turn this game on its head. I think you would agree, if ETN walks into the end zone right there, like it looked like he was going to, that place is dead. The Jags are winning that game, man. The Jags are winning that game. I don't care.
100%.
But the fact that Holland made that play is so huge for that team to give them just life. And then, like I said, 2 plays after that, they get Tyreek down the sideline. He's gone. They were still down then, but it's like you knew. It's like, oh, okay, Jacksonville's going to blow the game now. And Miami's going to come back. And I was like, okay, I know how this game's going to play out. And seen this before.
I would even like to go back and watch that second half, because I don't even think, like, what was their fucking game plan? I don't even think Trevor Lawrence threw for 50 yards in the second half.
They went for it on their own, I think, like 31-yard line. I think they were up 7, and they went for it.
God, dude. It's a good thing Weed couldn't actually watch the end of that game. Dude, he'd be fucking livid, as he should be. But yeah, either way, that was definitely a huge game-changing play. The other one that I had in mind that was a game-changing play, I think, was not to the extent, but that I don't even know what the tight end's name is, but in that Bengals Patriots game, he was basically going right into the end zone and then just coughed it up. Patriots get it. Bengals don't score. They end up losing by 6. Just, yeah, that's a tough game. I don't even want to talk about that game, actually. So, and you know what, though? I was with you, though. I was with you on the Patriots. I did not fall for the Bengals at -8. I was with you on the Pats. So that was actually a good call.
I liked the Patriots all week. I thought there were other games I liked more, so I didn't make it a big juicy bet. And then I also threw in the Jonathan Taylor anytime, which did hit. But I should have talked him up. I should have talked up New England.
Should have talked him up. Hey, listen. If I can talk the Panthers up and then they lose by 37, you can talk the Patriots up at any time this year. Trust me. It's not going to be as bad as you think.
I got a free card now.
Yes, you do.
Free get out of jail free card. I love it.
Yes, you do. So,
all right.
That's that.
Let's dive into these dang games. Why don't we? Let's start out with that Thursday night game, which was an absolute barn burner. Pleasure to watch. What an introduction to the NFL season. Kansas City Chiefs defeat the Baltimore Ravens 27-20. I don't want to talk about this game too much, Tyler, just because it feels so long ago. It doesn't feel fresh anymore. I feel like we should have done something on Friday for this game because I think it would have been worth it. But going back to the game, things that stuck out to me, Ravens O-line. We talked about it with Marcus.
Yep.
3 new starters.
Those guards especially.
They do not look good right now. They do not look like they're together as a unit. They look like they have a lot of practice, a lot of work they need to do, and I don't doubt they're going to get that done. My future is still on the Baltimore Ravens. I expect this team to take off this season, but right now the offensive line is a major concern for them, to the point where, I mean, even the Raiders front this week, that team could give them some hell up front and make this game interesting if they can't block Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins. So I'm a little worried about that for the Ravens this week. I don't think they're going to lose the game. I'd have them in my survivor pool, so they better not lose. Yeah. But I think that is an issue. It's an issue going forward, that offensive line. Another thing that stuck out, Isaiah Likely is the number 2 option on this team. It's no longer Mark Andrews, so I hope that you didn't spend your 3rd, 4th round fantasy pick on Mark Andrews. I hope you'd spent that on Isaiah Likely instead, because he is Lamar's best friend when going gets tough. When he's scrambling around, when he needs something to happen, he's not throwing up a jump ball to Zay Flowers, folks. He's throwing that jump ball up to Isaiah Likely. And Isaiah Likely came through in some clutch spots and almost had the game-tying touchdown. And it was that much of his toe?
Half a toe.
Touched the boundary in the end zone. What an unfortunate way for that game to end, but what a great game. But like I said, that's what stuck out to me. Isaiah Likely is going to be a weapon going forward in this offense. That was no fluke, because the receivers for Baltimore are not great. Bateman, I think, had 2 catches. Aguilar did not have a good game out there. They did a good job on Zay Flowers overall. They couldn't really get him in space too much against Kansas City. Kansas City defense, I want to talk about them before I let you go, Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City Chiefs defense is not going anywhere.
No.
I know we were worried about them losing Snead, and losing Willie Gay. These guys, Chenal and Tranquil at linebacker for them, just absolutely fly all over the field. These white boys their motors are absurd. They're all over the ball. Anytime the Ravens try to get anything going in the flat or like these quick screens or anything, any explosive play, draws, screens, whatever, hitches, these guys are flying all over the field. And it's like they got Nick Bolton too, but Nick Bolton gave up a couple third and long conversions where he let Justice Hill leak out of the backfield, and that was his assignment. And if you take that away from the Ravens, they wouldn't have gotten anything going in that first half.
Mm-hmm.
So I really these guys, Chenal and Tranquil, are weapons on this defense that not a lot of people are going to talk about, but they're going to find out because these guys can run, they can tackle, and they can cover. They can cover running backs out of the backfield, and just a great weapon for Spags to have because there's so many things that he could do with that defense. We talk about all the time, and they look great. Xavier Worthy is going to be a problem for Kansas City. They don't even have their full, repertoire in Kansas City going on right now. But it's like we get a glimpse of Xavier Worthy, and it's like, yeah, that's going to be hard to stop. And I think the Bills are going to regret trading them to Kansas City, Tyler.
Yeah, they probably will. But still, I mean, especially if Keon Coleman doesn't pan out, which I don't even know. I think he only had maybe a few catches, but we'll get into that later. Either way, I did take quite a few notes on this game, since it was the only one that night, so I had time. But yeah, just to touch on like things that stood out, big plays in the game. You already brought up a couple of them, which was the guard play. They could not stop Chris Jones, and they didn't even try to double team him until probably the second half. Once they finally were like, all right, we're like, well, literally, we won't score again the rest of the game if we don't double him. So that's a huge problem. And I even thought about it, like, why not, fuck it, you're Baltimore, why not go sign Bakhtiari, get him in there, and then see if he can't, slide into one of those guard spots or move one of those tackles into guard and just see how it goes. Right? I know he was banged up, he's going to be recovering, but fuck it, take a flyer on him. Nobody else has signed him. And just see if he can't make a difference. And if he doesn't, all right, well, those other guys got more experience and playing time, and you can go right back to them, and they can go right back to not being able to block anybody. So that's that. That first drive from the Ravens, though, gave, I think, a lot of hope to that run game and that possibility of Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson read option, sending Henry in motion. Like there was one play, it was like their very first option they did, read option, Lamar keeps it, goes for 12, very first one. Then they send Henry into motion to the right side. They do a fake little screenplay over there where Henry goes to block and Lamar just pulls it left, runs for like another 10. And it's just little things like that where they got guys in motion. Lamar's keeping it. Lamar ran the ball 16 times, and then Derrick Henry ran it 13. Lamar had 122 yards rushing. He had almost 400 total yards because he threw for 273. And I know that the thing going into the season was he dropped weight to get, back to where he was coming in the league for, I guess more acceleration speed and all that. So, but yeah, I can see this run game being lethal against lesser defenses throughout the regular season. So that's something to keep in mind. And I think if you spent a second or third round pick on Derrick Henry, you're not going to be disappointed. I do. And if you have Lamar Jackson on your fantasy team, you're fucking set. Those two are going to be a problem throughout the year. Let's see. On the other side of the ball, Rashee Rice, I think, ran 10 slants, and Mahomes connected on like 8 of them. He had over 100 yards. So Rashee Rice might be the most lethal slant runner in the league at this point. Other than that, the illegal formations, those were fucking crazy, by the way. I think the NFL's got to chill. They got to chill just a little bit on those. I mean, God forbid the guy's 2 inches off his mark, like his helmet's just behind the center's belt buckle. What? come on, is that really affecting the play? Probably not. So, and it's just it ruined the Ravens. A couple of their drives in that first half, they'd have a positive play called back, illegal formation, and it was on the left tackle like 4 or 5 times. I was like, bro, just figure it the fuck out. Step up in your stance, man. Aside from that, Jawan Taylor got called for 2 more false starts. I thought that was worth noting. On Worthy's touchdown, I do think that people should be excited about him. He had that one run for 20 yards untouched. His touchdown was on blown coverage, his receiving touchdown. So he was wide the fuck open. But either way, you can just see the skill and the speed that this kid has and how they're going to utilize him in that offense. So I'm excited to see him. But one of the biggest plays in that game was on the Chiefs' last drive. I think Rashee Rice was open on an guess what? Guess what he ran? Slant. And he was open, and Mahomes stepped up in the pocket and went to throw it to him. And if he connects on this, that's a huge gain. It's game over, 100% game over. But I can't remember who it was. It might have been Hamilton. He got his hand up and tipped it, and it was the one that Mahomes caught. It was a jump ball. Mahomes caught that. Huge, 2 reasons. One was it could have been a huge gain to Rice, so it was a huge play to get a hand on that ball by the Ravens. And the other was with Mahomes catching that, he forced the Ravens to take a timeout, right? So if that was incomplete, could have been an interception. It either saves the Ravens a timeout or it's an interception, and they have great field position. So that was actually a huge play by Mahomes in that moment, in that spot. So that was a great game, though. I don't think we could have had the season start off any better, honestly.
I agree.
And then even that Eagles-Packers game was really good too. But unfortunate to see Jordan Love get hurt in that one.
I think Baltimore's defense played well. I think Van Noy going down in that game when he did was tough for them.
Yes.
Because they have some guys right now that are just kind of filling into new roles, including the coordinator himself, like Zachary Orr. That was his first time as a DC calling the game. I think it was Trenton Simpson who tipped that ball, but I was thinking the same thing, like, wow, if that ball just if it gets tipped up a little higher to where the one guy can push Mahomes down, the other guy catches it, that's a pick 6. Like, that's a walk-in pick 6, and the game is completely different. So it's just a winning play. It's another winning play that you see from Patrick Mahomes, and it's one of those things where it's like it's not always pretty, but look what he did to give his team a better chance to win. And it's just Patrick Mahomes. And going back to Rice before we cap it off, I think he is filling the void in a lot of the routes that Kelsey used to run. Just finding a spot like in the middle of the field, finding an open space in the zone. He's doing that really well. Like, he's finding where Mahomes likes to go, like in these openings, and a lot of him is what Kelsey used to be doing. But I don't know if Kelsey was, they had to keep him in the block more, or he's just up there in age. He's not going to run as many routes as he once did across the middle, whatever it is. But there's so many weapons on the field. It's like he doesn't have to be that guy anymore anyways. It doesn't matter. Plus, they can run the ball. Look at Pacheco, the way he ran the ball.
Yeah. I mean, we're starting to see, we started to see it in the regular season last year. We kind of had the conversation, like, Kelsey's, taking that step down. You can kind of see age is catching up to him, but then he had an incredible postseason. But then we get back to week 1 here, and whether it was scheme, game plan, he only had 3 catches for like 30-something yards. So, but again, they didn't really need him to step up. I mean, other than Rashee Rice, he had 7 catches for the 100 yards. The next highest had 3. So it was Rashee Rice at 7, doubled up everybody else, right? So the Baltimore's defense, other than the Rashee Rice slants and then that blown assignment and coverage to Worthy for the easy touchdown, I thought they did really well for week 1 against the Chiefs. So, to agree with what you said earlier, I still feel really confident that both of these teams are going to be deep into the playoffs come in a few months.
Moving on to your Dallas Cowboys getting a huge win on the road in Cleveland, 33-17. You said you liked him plus 2.5. You liked him a lot. I wasn't on board with you, but you were right. Credit to you on this one. Dallas came out and dominated this football game.
Mhm.
I'm going to let you take the reins covering this one, but I do want to know, because it's all, these recaps, there's going to be a lot of overreactions. What do you overreact to? What isn't
Mhm.
an overreaction? Like, we're going to analyze all of that that's going on in all of media this week. Talk to me about the game, how you felt about Dallas, and then also, is it an overreaction right now to say Deshaun Watson's washed and it's time to go to somebody else because he is not living up to that contract?
So yeah, I mean, we just talked about this last week or the week before. We talked about Deshaun Watson and how if you're betting on the Browns right now, you're betting on their run game, especially when Chubb's back, and their defense. You're not betting on Deshaun Watson. You're betting on everything else around him. And we kind of saw that here. I mean, with as terrible as their offense was, that defense for Cleveland held up, I thought, relatively well, especially in the second half. Outside of that first quarter, really, that second half, their defense played phenomenal, and that kind of leads me back to Dallas's offense. But I'm going to try to take this one step at a time. I'll start with Dallas's defense. I think that they did a great job. Mike Zimmer came in, and this was huge. I thought it was a good test to get Cleveland right off the bat. I know going into the game there was a couple linemen who were banged up. They don't have Chubb, and Watson's questionable right now. He's suspect. So I thought all of that combined was a good mixture for this defense to get after him, and I think you saw it. Parsons is Parsons. He's a dog. I think that their run game, for the most part, held up, which is the biggest piece to their defense is that interior, and then the linebacker play, right, to be able to stop the run game. You know what you have on the edge in Parsons and Lawrence. Uh, Odigizua is good, but we needed to see a lot out of Mozzie Smith, and I thought him and the other guys, Jordan Phillips, they all, they held their own. Kendricks, it's great to see another good linebacker in there because we needed a guy like Kendricks, play caller, a leader on the defense, and he's got that rapport with Zimmer from their days in Minnesota. But my guy, dude, this is what they were missing last year because he tore his ACL as a rookie. DeMarvion Overshown is a dog. That kid flies around the field, and you can see he loves being out there. He absolutely loves it. So that's a guy people should kind of look out for moving forward because he's going to be huge for that linebacker room for them, along with Damone Clark outside of Kendricks. So it's great to see him out there healthy. And then Trayvon Diggs, he gets a pick, first game back from the injury. And now it's just about getting Deron Bland up, back healthy because those two as a duo is going to be great in their safeties. I love the way Donovan Wilson plays, man. He's just he hits hard. I love the way he plays. Love Donovan Wilson. But either way, so their defense as a
Hooker.
whole, I feel Malik Hooker. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mention your Ohio State guy. But their defense as a whole is kind of what I thought it was, right? Just a good unit. It was all about scheme, right? What's Zimmer going to come out? How are they going to play? And right now, I like what I see. I'm not going to overreact because Deshaun Watson is so suspect, right? You can just see it. He was under pressure almost every time he dropped back. He made some good throws as an NFL quarterback should. I do think it's a little too early to give up on him. Like I said, I think they're going to give him at least 4 to 6 games. But if this happens where the offensive line can't hold it together, they've got capable backups that, if Cleveland's off to a 2-5 start, yeah, you might see Winston come in, or you might see DTR, or one of these young guys, especially if they're at a playoff contention a little bit later in the year. But I do think it's a little too early to give up on Watson.
I agree. And we're going to be going through it throughout these games, talking about these offenses. One thing that's very common from week one and has been for years now is the level of execution for these offenses is not good week one because of these guys aren't playing together throughout the preseason. Right. They're sitting out in the preseason. This is their first live game action. It's like, yeah, you have the inter squad shit with other teams in practice, but it's not the real thing, man. It's not everything that goes into playing an actual NFL game. You can't simulate that in a practice. So being out there first time together as a unit, a lot of these teams, first time play caller too, or first time quarterback in the building. It's going to be sloppy. The media is going to fill time this week by talking about how some quarterbacks need to get benched and they shouldn't be starting quarterbacks in the NFL and this and that. And this coach should get fired and this guy shouldn't be calling plays. And it's like, just let it breathe a little bit before we get to that point.
Right.
Outside of the Giants, because we've known that a long time ago. We knew that a long
Hey,
time ago.
hey,
So
hey, hey.
that's the one exception. And I'm not going to stop this train. I'm going to continue with this train of keeping receipts for the New York Giants because it's bad, man. I know I'm going to get into it. Once you hop off, I'm going to get into that game solo. But going back to the Browns, it's like it is too early. It is too early to give up because Watson hasn't been playing, and their offensive line was missing 2 starters, I believe. And Nick Chubb's not even back yet, so it's just let this thing breathe.
Right.
You had Dallas Cowboys defense is no joke. I know Dan Quinn's not there anymore, but Mike Zimmer can coach defense. He's been doing it for a long time. Not an easy test for Deshaun Watson that week or in week 1. Are you frustrated if you're a Browns fan? You should be frustrated with what you gave up and what your organization paid to get this guy in the building and what your team did without him with Joe Flacco last season. You should be pissed off. Totally understand that. But for everybody to saying like this is it is too early. But I am certainly concerned because that is not the same guy that I saw in Houston. I'm sorry. Preseason, no preseason. I could see eye test. That's not the same guy that they brought in a trade from the Houston Texans. That was a top 5 player in the NFL. It's not that guy anymore. I don't know what version, like what he can be, like the best, what the best Deshaun Watson at this point looks like, but it's not that guy. But moving on to another game that was very special to you, New Orleans Saints romp the Carolina Panthers, who you love so dearly in your big juicy bet number 1 over the weekend.
Sure did.
Talk to me about this game. 47-10. Are we overreacting with Bryce Young, or is there some serious concern in Carolina now?
Okay. Couple things. First off, you win some, you lose some. Lost this one, right? But I'm not taking a step back. I'm not like I like that bet going in. And you know what though? I do think there is cause for concern in Carolina at the quarterback position, just like how you're saying at this point with the Giants, it's a foregone conclusion. I know this is Bryce Young's second year, but
That's
after
6
watching
years,
him,
6th year to
right,
second.
exactly. So that's why it's not.
Multiple head coaches.
Yeah, so it's not as comparable, but there are people who are out on him. There are people who are out on Bryce Young, and they're saying, after watching that game, some of the throws he made are just they're bad. They were just bad throws that you shouldn't see from a number 1 overall pick. It's especially when I see him on the move, when I see him get out of the pocket and try to make a throw on the run, his accuracy is so far, it's awful. He does not make throws, especially rolling to his left, which I know for a right-handed quarterback, it's not the easiest thing to do, but that was his very first throw of the game, interception. Later on in the game, he had Thielen open 25, 30 yards down the field, overthrew him for a pick on the roll to his left, right? He doesn't have any help from his offensive line again. I think it's going to take time for that unit to get some camaraderie, but he's not good under pressure. He just takes too long, and his thing is when you see him catch the ball in the gun, he'll stand there. He doesn't move. He doesn't look like he's bouncing on his feet, ready to. It's like he's standing there until it's almost too late. So there's things that he can correct, and I think it's going to get better. So I don't want people to give up on him yet, but I do know after that game, because that was a tough watch for a Panthers fan. There are a lot of people who are like ready to just give it in and say that, that might be the biggest shiest in NFL history was for the Bears to get that and the Panthers to settle for Bryce Young over CJ Stroud. So things I saw though, you know what? Their defense, for as bad as their offense was playing, their defense held up for the most part. I know you see 47 points and you're like, I don't think their defense did shit. Well, it was a lot of bend, don't break, a lot of turnovers, right? But the Carolina Panthers back to the same old mistakes, right? Like they had this creative, crafty reverse, and I think it was, I can't remember which receiver it was, but he goes and he runs for a first down. It's like a 15-yard gain, fumbles the ball. Then Saints get it, they score. And then another one they had, I think it was Miles Sanders or someone had a big gain down the right side, holding. It was on a third down. It was like a third and short. Big gain, holding, bring it back, turnover. Like the same shit with Carolina that was happening last year is happening again already this year. So yeah, if you're a Carolina fan, you're not optimistic moving forward, and I feel terrible for that. But don't give up. There's hope yet.
And it's so tough on you. Like the Saints got a good defense too, and it's not an easy place to play to start the season too. Like that place is going to be riled up. It was 17-0 after the first quarter. So at that point, it's hard to get a run game going, really, when you're down 17-0 after the first quarter. Miles Sanders finished the day with 5 carries. Chuba Hubbard had 6 carries. So it's like they're putting a lot on the kid. He drops back 30 times. I know the game was out of reach. It's 17-0, but it's like you don't have to bail on the run at that point in the game. And it's just gonna make it so. Thing about Bryce Young, though, dude, is like this kid's confidence is shot at this point. He got thrown into the fire year one on an awful team that had nothing around him to help him, had an offensive line that didn't allow him to even develop like the right clock, the right internal clock of, okay, this is how many seconds this takes, and then get the ball out here. Everything is so sped up for Carolina, and it's like he kind of just had to wing it. And then last season, Adam Thielen was his best weapon, and he might
Yeah,
still be his best weapon. Looking at this team,
I like Deontay.
until one of these young guys step up. I mean,
And
Deontay Johnson finished with 2 catches for 19 yards. So what are we doing, Canales, too?
mm-hmm,
How are we making it easier for your quarterback? We said it's going to be a work in progress for Carolina.
yeah,
I just want to see some strides of this offense getting better. You said the defense held up and did what they had to do, bend, don't break. I think that defense is going to stink this year. And now Derek Brown's banged up, who's you could say
that's a huge bet. Yeah,
outside of, like him and JC Horn I mean, that's really all they got on that defense. So Derek Brown goes down. They're missing a lot as far as that front goes. Their
and
defense is going to be bad, and Bryce Young is going to have to keep dropping back 30 times.
see,
He's going to keep hearing how CJ Stroud's better than him, and they made a mistake
yeah,
while Stroud's out there balling, and he's got all these nice toys around him playing with, and a good defense, and a good coach, and a good culture, and all these things. And he's in Carolina, where who knows? We could be another head coach coming in at the end of next season, and what happens then? It's just a mess
Carolina.
right now. I
Yeah,
feel bad for him.
Carolina's where quarterbacks go to rot. That's what happens. But to touch on that, the defense. I mean, that first deep ball of the game to Shaheed. As soon as you saw Carr release it, you were like, "Oh fuck!" And there's Shaheed, 5 yards behind the defense, wide open. And if you watch that replay, because I went back and I actually watched a lot of this game. If you watched the replay, that they were playing a cover 3, so JC Horn, that wasn't his responsibility. Whoever was on the middle, he stepped in to cover. Someone ran like a little post or something, or 10, 15 in, and that safety bit on that, and Shaheed ran the deep post right behind him. And that's why at the end of the play, you see JC Horn like throw his arms up like, yo, fuck, first fucking drive of the season, and you're already blowing assignments for a 60-yard touchdown. It's going to be like this all year, dude. And if
Those are former Ram safeties back there too.
not good, right? And if you go back to like Derek Carr finished the game, he was 19 to 23. He threw, it was 83% completion percentage. If you watch how much time he had in the pocket, unbelievable. The Panthers had no pressure So they were just setting themselves up for failure. They had no pressure on Derek Carr. He could just sit back there and do whatever he wanted, waited for people to just run around and get open. And it's the opposite. You look at Bryce Young, didn't have any time to do any of that. So that's what happens. You give your quarterback a pocket, he's going to make throws. They're NFL quarterbacks. If you don't give them time and they're already suspect and they have no confidence, they're fucked. So when we do this and this gets posted and we got Thomas doing these replays, I want to just watch how much time Derek Carr has in the pocket for these throws that he makes. It's incredible. So their offensive line held up. The Panthers' defensive line absolutely flopped. And that's one of the biggest takeaways from this game, at least from my perspective.
Carolina does it again. Home game this week. Home debut against the LA Chargers. So we'll see how it happens there.
Can I just say, I'm never gonna bring them up for anybody to bet them again, for at least for some time. But I'm intrigued on taking them again.
No, I'm on the other side.
I can't learn from my mistakes.
But let's move on to the Tennessee Titans Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams' debut gets the win 24-17. Started out in this game, it was 17-0 Tennessee. And it's like, whoa, where's this Bears team that everybody's been talking about this whole offseason, that we've been, good vibes talking about the Bears this whole offseason with Todd having them on. Did not look good early. We were texting back and forth with Todd then, and it was not pleasant. And then special teams makes a huge play for the Bears, gets a return, sets them up. They get some points, and then the defense starts balling out. We get a pick six. And after that, they didn't allow anything. Didn't allow a single point the rest of that game after going down 17-zip. And Caleb had to do what he did to win. At the end of the day, he didn't give the game away. If they turn the ball over in that game, they probably don't win. If they just turn the ball over one time, the way that game was going. So the fact that he was composed enough to not turn the ball over, and he should have had a touchdown pass to Keenan Allen that Allen dropped. So people won't bring that up either, but it's okay. We got Caleb Williams back on this podcast because at the end of the day, man, it was his first start in the NFL, okay? And he got a win. That is big. He is the first rookie quarterback to win his first start since David Carr. David Carr, when the Houston Texans first came into the league. So all the Caleb Williams haters out there, it's like, whoa, where's this guy that we saw? Heisman Trophy winner. No. Next Patrick Mahomes. Biggest QB prospect ever. It's like, chill out, man. Chill out. Did you see what Joe Burrow did on Sunday by any chance? Did you see what he looked like? Because that guy's gotten MVP votes in the league. That guy's been in a Super Bowl in the league. And he was an 8-point favorite against a team they said might not win a game this season, the New England Patriots. And he lost, and he looked like garbage. Yep. And we're knocking Caleb Williams for not playing like Superman out there, not having a extraordinary game, but he gets a win. No, not doing it. Shout out to Caleb Williams getting his first win. And this is what's big for the Chicago Bears, Tyler, this season, is they got it going on in all three aspects. We talk about their punter. They got a good kicker. The special team, the punt return that set them up, that was the first big juice play, got the momentum going in that game. They block a punt for a touchdown. It's like, man, this defense had it going on. The special teams had it going on, and they picked their quarterback up, and that's what winning teams do. I don't know if anybody remembers, but the GOAT, Tom Brady, played the majority of his years in New England with a pretty damn good defense, and most years the best special teams in the league because nobody coached special teams like Bill Belichick. So he had those other two things going on at all times, clicking. And I think Chicago is on its way, Tyler. I really do. I like this defense a ton. Like I said, the special teams picked their team up And that's so big because there's going to be weeks when Caleb Williams picks them up. We got full
Yep.
confidence in Caleb Williams in this Bears offense. How can you not? How can you not have confidence in this offense to get it going? I'm excited for this team. This is honestly best case scenario in my opinion because it gives Caleb that perspective and that reality that it's like, hey man, it's not going to be easy. It's going to take work week in, week out, and it's just going to make him that much better. And to know that you have that defense and that third element as well helping you out, it's huge. To talk about Tennessee, their defense played great in this game. Like I mentioned in the beginning, if you didn't catch my rant, it was aimed at head coach Brian Callahan of the Tennessee Titans and how he threw his quarterback, Will Levis, under the bus in his presser after this game. Will Levis did make some very poor decisions in this game that cost his team a chance to win. But that's another guy, very young quarterback, and it's going to take some time. And it's going to need you're going to have to instill in as much confidence as you possibly can as a building, as a team, as a staff in that guy, because that's who you're invested in right now. And you got some tools around him, and you saw what the defense did. Tennessee can make some noise this year if Will Levis cleans it up. But what do you got for this one?
Yeah, I was just gonna to touch on the Caleb Williams thing. Like, do you think that these quarterbacks ask for these expectations being drafted as high as they do? Do you think they just go out to the media and they're like, hey, can you hype me up to the point where everyone hates me? Just so I can either live up or fail people's expectations? They don't, right? They don't ask for this shit. The media just does it, right? This kid's going out there, he's trying to play football and make money, right? Trying to win ball games. He's going to do that. He's going to do all that. So I don't think people should overreact to this. Again, first start, he got a dub first since David Carr. Did he look great? No. Biggest thing I'd like to see, he had some misses, but he also had some drops, right? So if you're looking at those drops, he's over 100 yards and he's got a touchdown. But that happens, right? So the biggest thing from him, and we talked about it with Todd, not, just kind of mentioned it, is the batted balls. I don't know. There was a significant amount. I want to say at least there was like 4 to 6 balls that he had batted down at the line of scrimmage. I don't know if that's, something that can just get corrected overnight, or if that's something that he's got to work on with the staff. I don't know the fix for that, but that was something that I saw that's too much, right? You see a ball get batted down here and there in a game, it happens, but 4, 5, 6, 7 times throughout a game, it's too much. So they got to get that corrected, figure out how to fix that. And like DeAndre Swift, getting him more involved. He had 10 carries for 30 yards, but he didn't have a catch. That's somebody that you want catching the ball, I want to say, at least 3 times out of the backfield. Get that guy a screen, get him a screen pass, get him involved in the passing game. You want to see Swift catch at least 3 balls a game. He had none. So I think that changes moving forward too. And then just getting those other guys involved. I don't know if O'Dune's even had he have a catch? I don't know that he had one. Rome had 1 catch for 11 yards. That's it. So other than DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, there wasn't a whole lot going on there. But either way, excited for the Bears and what they can do this season. For the Titans, you nailed it. Will Levis has to get some things corrected. Loved what I saw from Tony Pollard, by the way. So for everyone who was sleeping on him after last season, when he came back from an injury, this kid can play ball. He's a good running back. He's going to do good things, and he's got a good partner in Spears. So I think that, the Titans got a lot going on around Will Levis. He just has to clean it up, and then the Titans can make some noise.
That defense too, before we cap it off, bunch of new faces in there with Jeffrey Simmons on that defense. And we didn't know how they were going to look now without Vrabel, and their new DC is now in New York as well. So it's brand new for them, and a bunch of guys just playing together for the first time as well. And I thought that defense really balled out. So it is, it's got to be optimistic for Titans fans to just know that if we just clean some things up, decision making, moving on, to the Arizona Cardinals, Buffalo Bills. Bills pull it off 34-28 after trailing early in this game. I think this was 17-0 as well in Buffalo, where the Cardinals were up.
It was.
I was sweating my 6.5, ended up not hitting it anyways because the Cardinals got a 2-point conversion late. So that was a bad beat for me. Did survive my survivor pool with the Bills, and a bunch of people dropped out like flies picking the Bengals. So that was great for my chances going forward. Talking about this game though, Arizona was on them early, man, and it was surprising. But I wasn't shocked because I said even when we were putting our bets together, I could see Arizona hanging with Buffalo. I could see a lot of points. Nailed the over in this game. The over was, couldn't miss that one. It
No,
was
we
sitting
love
right
that.
there for you. I said Arizona was going to hang with them. They were going to score some points because we don't know about the Bills defense. They're learning some things as well, and it's going to take some time there. Cardinals defense, we don't like much at all, and we know what Josh Allen does. And we thought, it was just going to be a party in Buffalo. They were going to be points, 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 back and forth. But early it was all Arizona, so it was a little concerning. But then, of course, the Bills get going, and Josh Allen, he just started running wild all over him, Tyler. Finished with 9 carries, 39 yards. Again, hammer the over. Anytime you see that below 35 for Josh Allen, hammer that over. 2 touchdowns as well. James Cook ran the ball well, 19 carries for 71 yards. I like just getting him the ball and having that threat, in the backfield. Receiving core, nobody really, had a big game. It was just kind of spreading the wealth for Buffalo, which I think is the best case scenario for them, is because as a defense, you don't know what the hell's coming at you. It used to just be, all right, Diggs, focus on Diggs, focus on Diggs. Now they come out with these, 3 wide receiver, 4 wide receiver sets, and you're like, I don't really know which one's his favorite. You know what I mean? Like any of these guys can beat me right now. Any of these guys is capable. Valdez-Scantling should have had a deep touchdown in this game, but Josh just missed the throw. So it's like, if you look at this, he was their 6th leading receiver in this game. Curtis Samuel only had 2 catches for 15 yards. Kincaid only had 1 catch for 11 yards. We did see Keon Coleman. He was their leading receiver. So I know he didn't have a great game, but he was their leading receiver. So it's good to see, because I think that while it's nice to have any guy be able to beat you like a bunch of 2s and 3s, I think it is going to be important for them to really get Keon Coleman like the confidence of being, hey, you're that guy. You're that number 1 in the room, and you're just different. You're different from these other guys. We saw that jump ball that they threw up to him. Defensively, Buffalo, I think it's just going to take some time, like I said. And Kyler Murray is not the ideal candidate to go up against in week 1. Like, you don't have any game reps. Your endurance isn't all the way there, and everybody's in game shape. And you got Kyler Murray out there just running around people like he's playing Madden and then just dumping it over people's heads. So I'm not concerned by any means, talking about the Bills, going down 17-0 and only pulling this game off by 6. I don't think it makes the Bills look weak by any means, because I think the Cardinals are just going to be a feisty team. This week, they're favored against the Rams. So Vegas knows it as well. I think the Cardinals are going to be a much improved team this year. But that defense is not going to be great, I don't think.
That was a weird game to me. This Bills Cardinals game was a weird game because you see Carolina's still on my mind. You see the Cardinals come out and put up 17 on the Bills, and we're sitting there, we're not really surprised. We're like, all right, this Bills defense is, we kind of suspect to start the year. They got to figure some things out. So not surprised, but you saw a slow start. I think, the penalties and other things like that really kind of hindered the Bills start. But then you saw Josh Allen beat Josh Allen. He got it going. He was very efficient. And then it just ended up big momentum swing. And then all of a sudden, Kyler Murray and the Cardinals offense does nothing until the 4th quarter. So, and I think Kyler Murray only finished with like 160 something pass yards, which is crazy because I feel like he had over 100 going in to the second half. Same thing with like Trevor Lawrence and in the Dolphins game. He had like 120 yards going into the second half and finished with like a $160. So just a couple odd things, but that Bills defense really clamped down because James Conner was running all over him in the first quarter, and then the Bills D clamped down. So I think a lot of things if you're a Bills fan to be optimistic about, especially in the second half of that game, because it's about the NFL. It's about adjustments, right? You're going to have teams that can come out with a great game plan, great scheme. You got to adjust. You got to make adjustments. It's the Bills did that, and then they have to speak on that receiver core. Yeah, if Keon Coleman ends up being your leading receiver, given it's not a ton, but in a room full of 10 guys, when 9 different receivers catch the ball, he's your leading receiver in his first NFL game. You should be pretty optimistic. I like that. I think that's something to be excited about. So, I like Arizona's offense, and I still don't like their defense. But that was a good game. And they almost came back and won it. I think because didn't the Cardinals, they got down near the red zone on their final drive, right? I want to say it was like or close to it. I know they were definitely in Bills territory, so they made it a game though in Buffalo, which isn't easy.
They gave it a go.
Yeah. So I like the overs for both of these teams in pretty much any game they play. But it was
one catch for 4 yards.
Marvin.
Buffalo's secondary held Marvin too.
Yeah, that was something else actually. I forgot to touch on that. Is he had one drop, but that was it was going to be like a 10 to 15 yard gain. So even if he catches that, 2 catches for 20 yards. So if you're Arizona, you got to get your 4th overall pick more involved. You just have to. And speaking of, I think the final play that Arizona lost on, it was I think a 4th and short, right? What was it, 4th and 3, maybe something like that. And they throw a deep ball down the sideline to Dortch.
Yeah, that was questionable.
What are you doing?
A great throw too.
It was actually a really good throw.
It was you couldn't have put it in a better spot.
It was a really good ball, but still, I mean, that's like that brings me back to that because I have PTSD about it. That brings me back to the Cowboys Packers playoff game when it was 4th and 1, and Romo threw the deep ball to Dez that he caught, but they ruled it incomplete. I just can't remember thinking about that. I'm like, I should just fucking ran the ball. Cardinals 4th and short, and you throw a deep ball of all people to Dortch. I'm like, what are they doing? Run something over the middle to Trey McBride, who catches everything, or I don't know, your 4th overall pick. So, either way, I do like both of those offenses moving forward, and I think their defenses are suspects. So I love betting the over on both of these teams, no matter who they're playing.
Philadelphia Eagles defeat Green Bay Packers 34-29 Friday night. Another great game, primetime, second game of the NFL season. Jordan Love, of course, as we mentioned, gets hurt. He's going to be out. They're saying, Tyler, I think 4 weeks is the estimate. They obviously just brought in Malik Willis in the trade. There's been some Ryan Tannehill rumors. I don't know what to expect from Green Bay with Malik Willis as their quarterback. But I do know this was a tremendous game. This was a tremendous game back and forth between these teams. We saw some explosive plays. Saquon Barkley, 3 touchdowns in this game in his debut, 1 receiving, 2 rushing. He finished with 24 carries, 109 yards rushing. Jalen Hurts had some bad decision-making plays in that first half of that game that made you scratch your head. Yep. But he got it together later on. A.J. Brown made a big play in that second half too, which I thought really swung things in this game. There was some rust, I think, going on early with both of these offenses, but I think 2 pretty dang good offensive play callers that found ways to get their offenses going later on in the first half of this game. And it really took things exploded after that. We saw Saquon Barkley on one side. We saw Jaden Reed getting loose for the Green Bay Packers on the other side. And all of a sudden it was fun.
Yeah. Jalen Hurts made very bad plays in that first half that gave the Packers a lot of hope, but then that offense cleaned it up. And I think you can see what Kellen Moore wants to do with that offense, right? And that's run the ball with Saquon and get him involved early and often. and they're going to run a lot of. They're going to use a lot of motion. It's what Kellen Moore likes to do. I think that they're in great hands. AJ Brown, still a dog. Devontae Smith, you could see him getting in there. He's good, obviously. And I think their third receiver, I mean, you got Goddard, right? But that third receiver, Jahan Dotson, I don't think we really saw much of him. I think
No.
it's going to take some time to get him, incorporated into everything. But that offense they're going to be doing good things for a while. Defensively, I love that front. I hate to say it because I hate giving Philly any credit whatsoever, but their front is fucking tough. Those 2 D tackles, and they're young, and they're only in their second or third year max. So I think it's going to be them or San Fran that's going to end up making it. But yeah, there's a lot to like about this Eagles team moving forward.
Yeah, you got the inside guys, and then there's just a plethora of guys that they throw at you from the edge. Brandon Graham, that dude was sticking out on my TV. I was like, oh, Brandon Graham came back for another season, and he's out there just tearing it up. Like I saw 55 everywhere, balling out in that first game, man. So they're going to be a problem, and I think it just makes it easier on that young secondary. Like, obviously, they got 2 rookie corners that are going to play big roles on this team. But when you have that front to make it easier for you, they're going to get better week by week by week by week.
Exactly.
So the Eagles they got something to be excited about this season. I feel good about them and their Super Bowl chances this year as well.
But by the way, Brandon Graham, probably one of the more underrated defensive players in the league over the course of his career. Just a dude who consistently gets it done. And it's not just he doesn't get the big, the most sacks, but he just plays his position very, very well. Never gets any praise. Has had some injury issues throughout his career. I think that has hindered that a little bit, but just a great overall player, and he has been his entire career. So we'll probably end up seeing him in a gold jacket at some point. But I gotta hop off. So be ready for me to be cooking up some more bets here in a couple days. So, well, see you later, Piet.
Peace.
Everybody. Peace.
Moving right along here, solo. Let's get on to the Detroit Lions, Los Angeles Rams. Detroit Lions pull off the win in overtime, 26-20 over my Los Angeles Rams. Takeaways from this game is I thought our defense played very well in this game. It's a brand new defense, brand new defensive coordinator, new system, everything, no Aaron Donald. So I was pretty worried going into that game. I do think our defense is going to be better than people think this year, but it is still concerning, especially going at Detroit, who's a team a lot of people are taking to win the NFC in that environment week 1. That's tough. It's not an easy place to play week 1, but I thought the defense hung in there. I was really impressed. They got after Goff early in the game, but I would have liked to have seen that later. I know the Lions' offensive line is arguably the best in the NFL. They're definitely top 3. So they're not going to be easy. They make it tough for you to get to Goff. But I would have liked to see more of that. I thought the secondary played tremendous. I thought the linebackers really played well, given the circumstances going into that game. They completely took Amon St. Brown out of the game. They took Laporta out of the game. Those 2 guys had little to no impact. And those were things that were concerning going into that game was how are we going to stop these guys? So Cameron Curl played great in his debut. John Johnson at safety as well had a huge pick to give us a chance late in that game when Detroit could have gone up 2 possessions. He made a really nice interception to give us life later in that game. Tre'Davious White held up out there at corner. I thought he had a great game outside of the one double move where Jameson Williams got him on. That wasn't great. Jameson Williams really took off for the Lions. That was his breakout game for his young career so far. And he's one of those guys where it's like you see all the potential, the speed, everything. We saw him in Alabama. And you're just waiting for this guy to explode on the NFL stage. And it's just been staying healthy for him. Staying healthy since he's been in the NFL has been his issue. But maybe he is that guy. He takes that step up. He stays healthy, and he's that reliable, consistent number 2 receiver for Jared Goff and the Lions. And that's quite the compliment to St. Brown. And then Laporta, obviously, on the inside. And then that run game that absolutely stuffed it down our throats in that overtime period. As soon as we lost the coin toss, I did not feel good because our defense had been on the field late in that game. They were getting tired week one playing overtime. It's already hard enough. These guys aren't in game shape going 4 quarters. Now you put overtime on top of that, and you're going to have Penei Sewell and this Detroit Lions offensive line come at you with David Montgomery running behind it. That was just a deadly combination, deadly force in that overtime period. And they just, I'll say like it is, they bullied us in that overtime. We didn't even get the ball back. It was over real quick. So shout out to the Detroit Lions. They're going to be a tough team this year, just like they were last year. It's not a lot of question marks there. And I think that there's some positions of weakness that they had last season that they're going to be improved on this year. Cornerback being the main one. I thought their corners across the board played good outside of some penalties by Terry and Arnold, which really, if you take those penalties by Arnold away, I don't know if the Rams are really in that game late, to be honest with you. I thought overall, like Carlton Davis had a really good game. So, and they're gonna be in it for that 1 seed. My Rams is a little worrying. The offensive line was banged up going into that game, and now we came out of that game with more offensive line injuries. So we're actually, as we've already talked about, underdogs at Arizona this week. And Puka's out. At least it'll be 4 weeks at least for him. So that's concerning, but time for guys to step up. Tyler Johnson had a great game. He really filled that role on Sunday night. So can he keep it up? Can he be that, I like DeMarcus Robinson, so I think DeMarcus Robinson can be a good number 2 to Cooper Kupp if Cooper Kupp stays healthy too. But Tyler Johnson, he was impressive. And McVay I trust, and Matthew Stafford I trust. The offensive line is much greater concern to me than the Puka injury, and then anything on the defensive side of the ball. Because like I said, I thought the defense played really well. And the Lions are just, they're wagon, man. They're a fucking tough team. Very physical. Let's get on to the upset of the week. That is the New England Patriots 8-point dog going into Cincinnati and beating Joe Burrow, the Cincinnati Bengals, 16-10. I told Tyler I liked +8 with New England, but I would have never imagined throwing a money line on it. For them to actually get this win is absurd, as I'm sure it is. It's absurd to me, as I'm sure it is to any of you watching. Jacoby Brissett finished that game 15 for 24 for 121 yards. And that was enough. That got it done for New England. I mean, Stevenson ran wild on him. They ran the ball 25 times for $120. It's like if they can get that run game from Stevenson, man, that's a absolute must. Because if you take that run component away from this New England offense, I don't know how many first downs they're going to get, drive to drive, Jacoby Brissett going up down the field if they can't run the ball. So I thought, shout out to the Patriots offensive line, because those guys were questioned and they were doubted this entire offseason. For them to go into that building in Cincinnati, it's a pretty good front, I'd say. Not great, but in that environment, in the jungle, yeah, they gave up 1 sack. Jacoby Brissett was sacked 1 time. And then they ran it down their throats. Stevenson had $120, Brissett had 32, and then Gibson had 18. So they just ran it down Cincinnati's throat. Receiving, nobody stuck out for New England. Nobody did anything. They didn't have to. Defense for New England played extraordinary. We knew the defense was still going to be fine, but it was about how many points can this team, put up? Can this offense just hang on to the ball, and keep these drives alive so the defense can at least get some rest? So then by the time we're not in week 4, week 5, defense is so banged up and beat up. Going to the Bengals, this has been 3 or 4 years in a row now where the Bengals have had these slow starts, and I think it's safe to say this is another slow start by losing to the New England Patriots. A lot of people didn't think the Patriots were going to win a game for like 8 weeks, so it's a tough one to swallow for Cincy, but they're used to starting slow. It just feels every offseason there's a bunch of shit going on. Nobody's playing in the preseason together. People are dealing with injuries. This year it's the contract situations. Burrow's wrist, obviously, nobody's had that injury as a quarterback, so it's concerning. Higgins is out week 1. Chase wants a new deal. Joe Mixon, no longer in the building. By the way, he had a great day. So it's going to take some time for this Bengals offense, is what I'm getting at. It's going to take some time. And I'm not overreacting by any means and like shitting on the Bengals. I'm not going to do it because I've seen it year in, year out. This team just starts slow. That's what they do. They'll get it going. Like, you got to get the run game going. You got no chance. Zach Moss, 9 carries for 44 yards. Chase Brown, 3 carries for 11 yards. It's like New England just controlled the clock the entire game, it seemed like. And the Bengals couldn't get into the rhythm. They did not get into a rhythm at all. They did score a touchdown. They got called back, I know, at one point in the game as well, to Shaky. But they just didn't get in a rhythm. But I think Cincinnati's going to be fine. I don't think they're going to win the AFC North. I didn't think that before, though. So I think this is a very capable wild card team that still has the firepower to make a deep run. Vikings, Giants. 28-6, by the way. I don't think I need to go into anything from the Giants' ends. I think we've covered them completely. These last few episodes, we did a preview on them where all we talked about was, well, it's tough to see anything happening because we don't think they have their guy at quarterback still. And you drafted a wide receiver, and the front seven's good on defense, but the secondary looks awful. That's basically what I saw week 1. I don't think there's anything to talk about furthermore. I knew Daniel Jones wasn't the guy. I know he doesn't have a ton around him. Saquon's not there anymore. And go look at his numbers without Saquon Barkley in his career. I dare you. Go look at Daniel Jones' numbers without Saquon Barkley as his running back that game. It's not pretty. But how about Sam Darnold, man? Let's glass half full now. Let's talk about Sam Darnold. 19 for 24 with 2 tutties in this game. There weren't a lot of quarterbacks on Sunday that looked to be in rhythm. As I'm talking about the Bengals, they never found a rhythm. Joe Burrow never found a rhythm. Man, Sam Darnold was in it. He was in a rhythm. Man, we talk about the Giants. Their secondary is not good, but still an NFL defense out there. You're playing week 1. Not everybody's obviously getting the reps that they used to in the offseason as far as preseason goes and game simulation. I thought Sam Darnold was out there balling the majority of that game, and I think it was good to see, especially for Vikings fans who you go into the season and you're thinking, I don't really know how to feel because J.J. McCarthy's out, and now we got Sam Darnold. And I know it's the Giants, but I think that Vikings fans should feel really good about how Sam Darnold played and how he looked. And this team as a whole, like KOC, great head coach. And he just knows, he knows how to keep teams together no matter what's going on. He keeps teams together, and he definitely knows how to run an offense. And Justin Jefferson has a touchdown in this game. Aaron Jones in his Vikings debut Very good game, 94 yards rushing on 14 carries. And he had a touchdown in his debut. So good for the Vikings. Their defense obviously played very well, but it's the Giants. So I'm anxious to see how this Vikings team looks this coming week at home against the Niners. I want to see how that defense plays then. And I want to see how Sam Darnold runs the offense then. And I think then we can kind of have a better picture of what to expect from Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings this season. Steelers-Falcons. Russell Wilson gets ruled out, so Justin Fields goes in his Pittsburgh debut in his hometown of Atlanta, gets the win 18-10. But it wasn't what Justin Fields did out there. It was what TJ Watt, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, and then Chris Boswell, what those guys did to hold Atlanta to 10 points at home after this offseason where they're talking about how good this offense is going to be, how explosive they're going to be. Kirk Cousins coming in now. You picked him off twice. You sacked him twice. He was under pressure, it felt like, the entire game, running for his life. And who could blame him? And it's a pretty good offensive line in Atlanta, too. They held Bijan to only 68 yards rushing. So, I mean, Drake Lennon, 2 catches for 15 yards. Steelers defense, man, this is what they do. Year in, year out. They know how to just muck it up and make it ugly. Mike Tomlin's teams have always been able to do that. If they're lacking on offense, they find a way on defense. And TJ Watt, he's the catapult to that, man. He's unbelievable to watch. That's all you need is a Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback. That's all they're going to need out of Russ as well. You're playing with that run game and that defense. He ran 14 for 57. Najee had a decent day rushing. And then you also got Patterson in the mix, which is good because Jaylen Warren is another option. Going back to Atlanta, though, this is another team where I'm not overreacting. It's week 1. The Steelers are a great defense. You got to figure out how to block TJ Watt in opening week of the season. Good luck. So I think Atlanta's going to be fine. I still think Tampa Bay, we're going to get to, is the team to beat, but I think Atlanta's going to be fine. Chargers 22, Raiders 10. This was a tough watch, in my opinion, guys. This was just not a lot going on. Justin Herbert didn't look sharp. Raiders offense, they didn't look sharp. I'll say that. It was a very mucky game in LA for this, and not really exciting football, and I feel bad. I'm going to start to feel bad for Devontae Adams. Like I said, very mucky game. Herbert finished 17 for 26 with a touchdown, average of 5.5 yards per completion. So it was run heavy. J.K. Dobbins had a great day in his Chargers debut. So maybe that's a weapon for them throughout the season, praying that he can stay healthy because he could really be a game changer. McConkey scored a touchdown in his debut as well. And then defensively, I thought the Chargers played pretty well. Obviously, 2 crucial fumbles that the Raiders had in this game that, I mean, it cost them. That's a big difference in this game is losing those 2 fumbles. I thought the Raiders defense hung in there the best that they could. And then eventually it got to a point where, they broke down a little bit, especially in the run game. They gave up some explosive plays, and those explosive plays just really killed them, broke them. But I think the Raiders defense can be pretty dang good this season. I really do. Be very physical defensively. And Robert Spillane is one of those guys that really he's got the edge to him. And Christian Wilkins is another guy. And Max Crosby is the guy. So they're going to be a feisty defense, not a front that teams are going to want to play. But the back end is going to have to hold up for them. And then the offense, they they're going to have to develop a run game with Zamir White and Madison. Like, they got to get the run game going for them to have a chance with Minshew. Brock Bowers, I think he could be a real difference maker, though, and I'm excited to see him get more involved as the weeks go on. Seahawks 26, Broncos 20. This is another game where I'm not going to overreact to a rookie quarterback's performance at Bo Nix. I know people are going to hammer Bo Nix all week. At the end of the day, I said it before the game. That's a tough ask. Rookie quarterback, first start in the NFL, and you got to play at Seattle, a place you can't hear. You can't communicate with your linemen because it's so damn loud. They can't hear you. Not easy for your first NFL start. And then you throw in the fact that I think Seattle's got something defensively this season with Mike McDonald, the new head coach. I think these guys fly around, not like the Legion of Boom did. I'm not saying that, but it does look like an improvement defensively. It just looks like they're getting to the ball better. I don't want that. This is another thing. Can't overreact because they were playing a rookie quarterback. So you don't want to, gloat Seattle's defense up too much. But I do think this group is going to be improved. They're not going to play Bo Nix every week, though, either. So it's a little give and take there. Byron Murphy, their draft pick, I think he's really going to ball out. You could see him winning defensive rookie of the year this year, potentially. And then Witherspoon back in their second year, he's a dog. Geno did not look good earlier in this game, though. And I think their offensive line was really failing them, especially when they were backed up in their own territory. I thought Denver was running wild on them early in that game, and they got it together a little bit, but what it was about for Seattle is just getting the run game going. The answer to all of your questions, if you're the Seattle Seahawks, is just run the ball. I'd hate to be that guy to break it to you, but Geno Smith's not that guy. You're not going to drop Geno Smith back 40 times and ask him to carry you to a win. Just not going to happen. He doesn't have to. You had Kenneth Walker, and you used him. 20 carries, 103 yards, didn't tutty. Geno also broke a run in that game for a touchdown, which was pretty exciting as well. But it's like Seattle, I think they could very well be a wild card team this year because I think their defense is improved, but it all starts with the run game. And if they could do that, Seattle can do something this season. Going back to Denver, though, it's like Bo Nix, 42 pass attempts. 42 pass attempts in your NFL debut. That's just not putting your guy in a position to succeed. And that's me even saying it to a guy who knows that better than anyone, in Sean Payton. Threw the ball 42 times in his debut. It's like Javonte Williams didn't help. He averaged 2.9 a carry. McLaughlin didn't help. He averaged 2.7 a carry. Bo Nix was actually your leading rusher. He was the only threat you had running the ball. Scored a touchdown doing it. I mean, I don't know. That just doesn't seem like you're really setting your quarterback up to succeed in any way. So I don't know if there's some doubts about the run game going on in Denver right now. But that's another team where it's like, yeah, you're going to need to run the ball or it's going to get ugly for you offensively. Just dropping back and throwing it 45 times. Capping off final two games. Tampa Bay Bucks 37, Commanders 20. I think the Tampa Bay Bucks offensively looked like the highest functioning, most like well executed offense that I saw in week one. I think the Bucks were that team. I know they were playing the Commanders, but it's like Dan Quinn can coach defense. They don't have all the guys back there right now, but he knows what he's doing as a defensive coach, and Baker put up 37 on him. So I said it, our NFC South preview, this is the team to me that It's their division. It's their division to lose in the NFC South. I have full trust in Baker Mayfield. I have full trust in Liam Cohen. I have full trust in Mike Evans. I like White. I like the rookie back as well, Irving. He broke one in that game. Godwin's still there. McMillan had a touchdown in his debut. Otten's good. O-line, like they got it going on offensively. And then Todd Bowles calling the defense. They still got some guys on that side. I think people are sleeping on the Bucs again, and it's crazy because it has been their division these last few years. It's been their division with Brady or without Brady. So Bucs are going to be a good football team, and I'm not surprised at all by how well that offense looked. Washington, I think Jaden showed some flashes, but it's gonna take some time. Obviously, it's going to take some time. And I think that was an encouraging game from Brian Robinson. What is going to be important, though, for Jaden Daniels is developing a relationship, chemistry with Terry McLaurin, because 2 catches for 17 yards is not going to cut it for Terry McLaurin when you look at all the options that team has. Like, he's that number 1 guy far and away. He should be dominating targets, dominating receptions, dominating yards, red zone chances, all of that. So they're going to have to figure it out. It is a little concerning that Jaden had 16 carries. That seems pretty high. But then again, Lamar had high amount of carries, and that was normal for all of us. So we'll see what happens. I just hope he stays healthy, and I hope we get to see what he's capable of this season. Bobby Wagner, 10 tackles, by the way, and 3 tackles for loss. So, guys still got it. He's still out there doing it. Well, that was it for our Week 1 NFL recap. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Follow us on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify. We will see you later this week with our Week 2 preview. Goodbye.
When I come to your city, I'm a new score. Broke your high score soon as I step through the door. Tryna stack my paper up like a bookstore. Money kissing each other like a rock and roll tour. When I come to your city, I'm a new score. Broke your high score soon as I step through the door. Tryna stack my paper up like a bookstore.